Microcom Technologies, and I'd like to thank all of you for attending today's webinar. So, today's hosts are Carl Middlestead, manager, as well as Ben Rahoric, and he is their solutions architect. They will both be presenting today. And if anyone has any questions, please remember to submit them in the question box so that Carl or Ben can answer them at the end of today's presentation. Thank you guys so much for being with Microcom today. We greatly appreciate it. I am finished for now, so please go ahead and take it on over.
Thank you, Julie. Thanks to everybody for joining. We appreciate it. We're going to go through this kind of show you a little more about Algo with a focus on the 8450. Like Julie said, I'm Carl Middlestead. I'm the business development manager here at Algo, and I'm joined by Ben Rahoric. He's our solution architect. So I'll be doing the first part of this presentation, and then Ben will jump in and take care of the second half. But want to keep it interactive here with you guys, and try not to bore you too much. I know how these webinars can get, so we'll jump right into it here. Today's agenda, we're going to go over again the 8450. We're going to show you guys what some key challenges are that helps solve. We're going to do a product overview and a demo of the actual product, show you some of the screens that it can do, some of the features, and then we'll also do some Algo updates that are coming up and some things that we have new releases on. So we'll save time at the end for Q&A. So just off the start, I know a lot of you already know who Algo is, but for those that don't, we're a manufacturer, a hardware manufacturer. We've been building products for over 50 years. Our focus is really in the unified communication space, and our devices integrate natively with modern phone systems, just like a phone on the network. We deliver reliable, industrial-grade hardware that's really designed to work seamlessly with major UC platforms like Teams, Cisco, GoTo, RingCentral, some of the other ones, but really integrate into all of them. So today, I really want to focus specifically on the 8450 and the challenges that it addresses. So when you look at the market today, a lot of the available alerting and paging products, they're genuinely pretty hard to use. They're complex, workflows are convoluted. Sometimes you need, to press multiple buttons just to initiate a simple action, and even then, it might not work reliably. Another major issue is the single point of failure built into many systems. So if the internet goes down or your phone system goes offline, unless you have really fully internal backup systems, it becomes really incredibly difficult to ensure the right action is taken during an emergency alert scenario. For a lot of organizations, that's a big vulnerability. So with that, the 8450 comes in. That's really where we built it to. First, the 8450 operates natively on the LAN alongside our ecosystem. As long as you have PoE on your switch and your local area network is up, the system continues running independently over the local IP network, even if everything else is offline. The 8450 manages all of this with a very simple, user-friendly interface that we're going to get into here shortly and kind of show you some of the feature the interface looks like. The other thing that it helps is there's no missed or delayed announcements. Everything is delivered instantly over via multicast, really providing reliable communication every time. Again, this solves a long list of problems that used to arise when trying to use your phone system as the trigger mechanism for our speakers. The 8450 evolves that approach and takes it into a clean, streamlined, and extremely dependable solution that we'll get into and show you here again. So this is it. This is the 8450. This is what it looks like. It features, again, as you can see there, a 10.1 display. It has that multi-purpose gooseneck microphone that is, for clear, high-quality announcements. It includes a programmable 4x4 button panel that allows you to trigger virtually any workflow that you need. And that's, again, it's customizable depending on the vertical, and we'll get into the verticals that we fit in here shortly. There's also a dedicated push-to-talk button on the front of the device that you can click. Then, again, color HD, you can kind of see what it looks like there. Jumping into the next slide here. So excuse me, the 8450 really provides full situational awareness and fast, efficient alerting. Again, whether you need to initiate a lockdown, activate strobes in specific areas, trigger horn speakers in one zone but not another, you can create an entire alerting ecosystem through this one simple device that you would put on your network. Importantly, it continues to operate even in the worst case scenarios, as I previously mentioned. With a simple battery pack on your PoE switch, the system remains active. Even if the internet or phone system is down, it gives you that reliability and the control that you need during critical moments. So it kind of takes the guesswork away from those emergency scenarios and situations. We got into this a little bit earlier, and Ben will speak to this more. But again, this is kind of the 8450 and what it solves. So lockdowns and emergency alerts, you don't miss that. Again, it's very simple to use, and you won't miss emergency alerts. The scalable, it's very scalable. You can integrate that into your speakers and your visual alerters. And then again, like we spoke about earlier, it's got that built-in redundancy to make sure that nothing is missed on a network when and where needed. These are some of the use cases that we find ourselves getting into. The biggest one probably is education. A lot of school customers, again, they buy the 8450 customers, or they throw it on their secretary's desk. She's able to trigger alerts. She's able to do live announcements, say happy birthday to Johnny in class A or whatever it is that comes up. Healthcare is another big one for us. With the alerts, code red, code pink, all the other code that they have, they're able to trigger that directly from the 8450, as well as do the zone-based staff paging. So warehouses are probably the third for us. Whether it's safety alerts or shift changes, notifications, the 8450 is big in warehouses. And then oddly enough, airports, we find ourselves getting into airports a lot. And I'll let Ben kind of give you guys just a real live case scenario that we did for Fort Lauderdale Airport. Ben, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, actually, I would come up with maybe two things about there's two key areas where Algo has really brought in project-wise, and that's going to be warehouses and airports. When we're talking about those two in particular, I have some really good experience in where we had one of our initial beta customers for the 8450 in a warehouse where they had 15 of these 8450s, not in the stand model, but in one that could mount onto a wall. And that was important for them because, one, they had to have central areas where people could take control and command where needed for live paging and initiating alerts. But the people on the floor also had to initiate an alert. And in this very large factory, we have areas that, well, we need to draw attention to. So for example, fire, where we are not a fire system, they were able to go up to one of these panels strategically placed in a location, let's say bullpen or receiving bay. When they press the button, it'll play a location alert. So for example, fire reported in a receiving bay, or medical alert required, medical assistance required in the bullpen. And so we build these very complex workflows where now all the lights are going green, the message is playing, and we build full scenarios, again, that can operate locally, redundantly. And then that takes us to one of our second greatest use cases, where in Fort Lauderdale Airport, they had some issues a few years ago. They found out that a lot of the speakers that they had on analog were not working. So we go through about an 8-year process now of working with them, replacing speakers to new IP, but also converting old analog hybrid over. So they can't just replace every speaker in an airport, no. This project has been phased out over years, and it's very large, a very complex project, if you can imagine what an airport would actually be like, where we control everything through Algo analog adapters, and then we have entirely new wings built out in IP, and everything is able to operate and run consistently across the airport. And this is done in working with our partners, our integrators, and with the airport staff and IT themselves. So some really great use cases and success stories when using Algo as the primary solution. Back to you, Carl.
Perfect, thanks, Ben, appreciate that. We will jump into the next slide here and kind of show some of the different screens that the 8450 can do. So again, we want to show you guys some examples of what some of our customers have done with the 8450. Again, this is a customizable tablet, essentially, that you can put, you know, your logo on. You'll see in the top left here, one of our schools put their logo on it. It has the time, very clean, easy to use, with the clock there in the middle. And again, you can adjust that to whatever you want. You'll see the emergency button down there at the bottom that we'll get into a little more here later, but this is what it looks like. It's got that boom mic on it as well. So we spoke about paging, being able to do all call pages, being able to do priority pages, whatever you need to from this device, instead of picking up a phone and dialing extensions or having to remember what that is. You can do that directly from here. You can push one of those buttons, and again, all of those are customizable. And you can make live paging right from the 8450. So this goes and actually shows how to search the directory from the 8450 as well. You can see how just simple and intuitive it is. Kind of let this video play here so you can see that there is a touch screen, and really just how simplistic it is to find an extension or the directory. We spoke about emergency alerts, and we'll get into that a little bit more, but these are just some of the ones that we have seen be programmed on there, whether it's weather incidents, evacuation, medical emergency, and some of the other ones that we spoke about. Again, that 4x4 button panel is customizable, but a big use case for the 8450 here is just the simplistic, easy to use emergency alerting. This is how simple it is from the 8450.
A threat has been identified near or within the facility. All must immediately secure themselves in the nearest room or safe location, lock all doors, and remain silent. Hopefully you can hear the audio and all of that, but that's, again, it's the push of a button, and you can make it do essentially whatever you want, whether that's flash the strobes or go through the speakers. It is password protected, so you don't have to worry about a student or somebody else bumping into it, accidentally triggering an alert. This just goes to show that. And then ultimately there is a lock screen, like we spoke about, that leads to the password protection. The lock screen is on there as a touch button and locks that screen. Now we're going to get into the fun part here. We're going to get into some of the features and show you really how the 8450 works. And for that, Ben, I will pass it off to you again, sir.
Great, and I think one big thing, everyone, is Carl is controlling the slides. So Carl, just do your best as we go through and move it. Yes, but if we need to move, I'll let you know. Get right into it here. So the biggest thing about the 8450 is it was built to be a very flexible device. It has a lot of complex workflows and things you can build in, but it could just be a simple paging console where I go in as an admin day to day, press the button and make a page. That's the most important thing. Can I get the message across? Can I do it easily? And can I do it when it matters? You could even do pre-recorded announcements. A lot of people have speakers or horns in a very loud environment where I need to make the announcement, have it saved to the device, and then broadcast after. These are things that are core to a good paging system that you'll find as basic features within what the 8450 provides. You can make it very simple, you can make it very complex, and you can really put it anywhere. There's going to be desk, rack, and surface mount options for this. I think the surface mount's coming out later, but the rack mount is being released soon, which you'll see a picture of that at the end of this. And it is meant to be secure. In that situation I talked about with the factory, they had 3 command consoles where when someone pressed that button for an alert, say the medical alert, all the other devices, they would not let you turn that alert off. They would show where the alert was coming from. They'd show that it's happening, but the only people who had access to that would be people in admin, people in security, and I think one other key administrator. And those are the command consoles for that. So only they can turn off the alert to make sure that if something happens, you don't want bad actors to turn off the alert in a worst case scenario. You have that capacity. And going into the next piece, when we look at this, just the interface, it is meant to be intuitive. It's made to be easy. We break it down by the home screen where you're going to add your action buttons. This is going to be things like your lockdown alerts, or it could be the zones you're paging to, the nav bar for your directories or other things like a delayed page or functions that you need. And then at the bottom is the action button. I know I said action button on the screen, action buttons below as well, where you have a tactile button that's backlit, maybe as an emergency button to trigger something or just start a page to everyone. We wanted it to be very easy, and it's very well thought out and thoughtful in this way. When we look at the workflows as a whole, the really cool things you can do, the 8450 also allows for remote button activation. So I'm sitting down at my desk, yes, I can go over it, I can press the button, I can do that. But using a wired button to another device like our 8180, if you see on the left side of this screen, you could trigger an API request to trigger that button. You could use a computer to use an API request to have something set up on it, trigger that button remotely. You could use a phone and a SIP call to, again, have all of these options built in on top of what we already do as Algo, which is really good, which is initiating alerts, working through SIP, but gives you something that allows for that local control. That when this alert's initiated, we can multicast to our speakers as we've always done. We can get the strobes to change colors, but then creating more complex workflows through API. Let's have a screen change to this slideshow. Let's talk to Informacast this way. Let's even build a whole new third-party API to Microsoft Teams to create a room, to invite everyone to it and let them know that an emergency is happening in their chat. These are things that, although we don't provide that native level support because we use REST API, the world is your oyster. If it supports that, I mean, technically we work together. Going to the next page, we also see this local redundancy being the biggest piece. Algo has always had a local redundancy option. You could put a microphone on an 8301. It sits in a server room somewhere, but generally it's SIP. Generally it's internet dependent, and you could always have a pre-recorded message, but the 8450 allows for that live messaging and initiates those requests directly from the console, giving you something that, so long as there's a UPS on your switch, your network stays up, you are able to alert and stay safe in any environment. Moving on to the next page. There are some good updates for this. One, we have heard people want buttons, and fair enough, we want buttons too. Finally, we have a double panic button coming out soon. Each button will have a different backlit option. They could have little panels to put over them, plastic ones so you're not accidentally pressing them. And there's going to be IP, so connected in via RJ45, Cat5 back to the network. They'll work anywhere, and ones that'll tie up to the relay on the back of our device to do what you needed to. A lot of people would use them as a silent alarm under the desk, or potentially just having, hey, let's call the office, or let's start an alert, something's happening. Either way, this is coming soon. And we also have, for the major industrial environments, we've seen this in other webinars as well, the 8197 IP X9 horn speaker. This was meant for wash down. Spray that thing with a pressure washer, submerge it in water. We've done all the testing for it. You can go to our YouTube, Algo Communication Products YouTube. You can see a picture or a video of it. It's insane. We'll call this the Florida Proof speaker. And this one is for harsh environments and wash down food plants as well. Going to the next one, we have our 8199. So this is a pretty familiar device. If you know Algo, you've probably seen the surface mount speaker. It just has the 9 on it now, meaning that it's PoE plus and capable of supporting up to 3 additional speakers behind it. So one speaker is PoE plus. You could do 1 network drop and daisy chain from speaker 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4. So have 4 speakers off a single network drop. Really great to see that this is here at surface mount, and obviously we have clocks too. Other things that they're not a brand new release, but not everyone knows about them because not everyone's needed them. If you have a white LED clock lead, this thing is very bright, very easy to see from a distance. It is network, so if your environment does require for manual clock changes, this will sync in through the intranet and give you the correct time at any time without the need for changing later. And I think our last one is the what I said. We have a rack mount accessory kit coming up finally for the 8450. If this was sitting in as a command console in a server room, there are mounting options here soon, and surface mount soon, and even potentially, this is way early, they don't want me to say it, but I'm saying it, a handset coming out soon. We're just working out the details so that you would have eventually two-way communication with devices through SIP. And I think that's it, Carl. Let's check the next page and see. Oh no, hey, there is one piece here. One major thing about Algo is that we have something called the Authorized Integrator Program. This is such a key program for our partners. This is where you're going to be able to get training and support, get demo gear, and be the first to know about new products. The thing is, it's a two-way street with Algo. We love our partners like Microcom and others who can help us move the product. When it comes to installing, the ability to get these projects, we're the manufacturer, we don't install. We give projects to you that come up as an RFP, sometimes to us directly, and the same thing the other way. How do I work on this project? We're happy to do design and any other exclusive perks and support to make sure you get exactly what you need to get your project across the line. To the next page, please, Carl.
I think that's the end one there. Ultimately, you know, we're here for you guys. You guys don't have to be the experts. You know, you have a team of Ben's that sit behind him, and really a sales team that sits next to me to ultimately help you guys be successful in selling Algo. So if anything comes up, you know, we're here for you. We're here, happy to help, you know, walk hand in hand with you and your customers or integrators or whoever it is, and make sure it's a successful rollout and deployment. So Julie, with that, I think we are at the end of our presentation. If we have any questions, we can jump into those, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Carl and Ben, for that presentation. Appreciate it so much. And yes, I do have some questions for you from the audience.
Fantastic.
Let's get started. Let's get started with the first one and see how we do. Here we go. First question. How does the IP console integrate with existing VoIP and UC systems?
Good question. So there's a few ways that it happens. You've got to think of this as a trigger. You know, am I calling the device to start an alert, or am I going to call a classroom through SIP potentially to have a conversation with it? Now, because it is a one-way communication device, it doesn't have a speaker. That's where the handset's going to come in handy. You wouldn't use it for much more than the trigger today, but there's no problem having an extension to trigger a button on the device and build out a multicast plus API workflow through SIP. And I think that's a really important piece that hasn't been there before. So you have more options, more capability. And the nice thing is you've set your alert up once in this device. Now it's the center trigger for, am I pressing the button? Am I making a call? Or am I pressing this other button to get it done?
Thank you so much. Next question here, and you may have touched on some of this. Here we go. The question is, can the IP console function as a standalone alert and communication system?
Standalone alert and communication system. So I don't know what standard we would meet with that. As it stands today, the answer is yes, it can initiate an alert, it can make a page, and it can hold its own on a LAN. Now, does this mean that is all there is to a communication system? No, but if the need is, I want a page, I want to initiate alerts, I need my speakers to play, I need my lights to strobe. Yes, but it depends on your needs. You could always come to us directly if there's something in particular you want to discuss.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Next question here. How does the interface simplify day-to-day use for receptionists or operators?
It's totally customizable to them. So think of just going up to the console, and there's two ways you could really see it. There might be surface level, so I can go up, press a button, page to zone 1, press another button to all call, go on to my little tactile button at the bottom for another function. What they want to see and how easy they'd like to make it is how easy it is. And I think that's really key when you're looking at it. It's a lot easier than remembering every extension or calling a number and pressing 1. It's quick, it's efficient.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Next question here. Does the system support visual alerts for a noisy environment?
Algo does support it. We have strobes and other lights that are very, very bright and made for industrial type environments, but that just really means they can be visible even in a highlight environment in the right cases. Just anything that Algo does, and I think this is really important, every piece is a building block. So we have senders, we have receivers, and based off what zone they're receiving on, they can do different things. So we're gonna get a flash red and green today, amber, blue. this is all stuff that you can think about with the client. And as far as we're concerned, we could just make it happen through our system.
Thank you so much for that. That sounds very good. Next question here. We have two more. Are multiple consoles supported on the same network?
Absolutely. They're just trigger points when you break them down at the most base level. So, for example, that in industrial use case, the original one we built it for, they had 15 operating on the same LAN. 3 of them were meant to turn off an alert if one was started. The other ones were meant to lock and broadcast that alert based off the zone they're part of. So when I press it in receiving bay, I get a receiving bay specific message out and receiving bay specific functions out. So the answer is yes, and that's generally how we break it out.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Last question here. What long-term vision, if you could share with us anything, does Algo have for emergency communication technology?
Emergency communication technology. It's an interesting thought. You know, there's a lot of things Algo looks at today, and right now we are the endpoint that a lot of other systems are able to openly take advantage of that is going to be on site, and that's really our place as the manufacturer today. Does that mean in the future that we're going to do this, maybe have a texting service or maybe do that? The answer is there's no plan today. However, with the introduction of REST API and all of the features we're opening up, we want you to be able to use our product with anything. And I think this really just highlights that we're going to be always the equipment you'd want to use on site. Quality, industrial, sounds great, is bright, gets the message across, and then everyone else is able to use it and make use of it.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for answering all of our questions today. And thank you to everyone attending today's webinar. And if anyone has any further questions, of course, please feel free to contact your sales rep or email us at sales@microcomtech.com. And if you wish to review any of the products mentioned or shown here today, please remember that this webinar presentation has been recorded and we'll be uploading it to our Microcom YouTube channel so we can all view it again. Carl and Ben, thank you so very much for presenting with us today. We greatly appreciate it. And I will be in touch so that we can follow up and do this again, perhaps in, I don't know, maybe 6 or 8 weeks. We'll see how it goes. I'll reach out. And until then, everybody have a fantastic day.
Thank you, Julie. Pleasure was ours. Thanks,
You're
everyone.
welcome. Bye-bye now.